Hello and welcome to the Bilgecast Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ollie Johnson. With me, as always, are Sam and Ian. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, dude. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to the
Hold
dashboard
on.
so that
Hold on. You ain't ignoring my tag team partner. Ian,
I...
how are you doing? Tell us about your day in graphic detail.
Yes, please do.
It was fine.
Riveting!
Yeah. So, there's a lot of wrestling news to get through. For any newbies that may be here, I've recently hit 340 subscribers. Golf clap.
I think what should be made interesting
Ah,
about this.
Zamri's here, in graphic detail. Oh, she said. Hey.
I think what should be made a point is that usually we do a whole rundown of Raw and SmackDown and the important parts, but the last few weeks have been kind of, call it dreary. But the news this week has been
I am
wow.
not. Yes, you are. Yeah, I know. There's been a lot of unfortunate news this week. Firstly, let's first address the unfortunate big one. Ashley Massaro passed away at 39 this week.
I remember very little of Ashley other than a little bit that she was a punk character that was on SmackDown,
Yeah.
was in a bit of a feud with Michelle McCool, and I really don't remember much of anything else. I think she may have gotten a WrestleMania match, but I
She
can't
she had
honestly.
a couple of WrestleMania matches. She was a women's champion at one point. She unfortunately she had her prime back when the women's division wasn't really given the respect it's given these days. So
Yeah, a lot of the a lot of that was not of course the women's fault.
oh
A lot
no,
of it
by no means.
a lot of it was actually a thing I want to bring up a little later in if we have time to talk about how WWE ended up in this state.
Yeah,
Because there are a few elephants in the room that no one has touched on.
yeah. I mean, we can complain that the product is not all it could be,
But
but
it had to come from somewhere. I think all
yeah,
three of us agree that something happened.
yeah.
And it isn't just I don't think AEW I think I will say for now, AEW has not changed the landscape. It's just made the landscape a little bit more obvious.
Yeah, and WWE, to their credit, on the YouTube channel, have uploaded a few of Ashley's matches in
They do
memory.
this every time well, the thing is, they do this every time someone passes away. I mean, recently, funnily enough, they also oddly added a load of China's stuff just before WrestleMania,
Yeah, yeah,
which I thought was interesting. But I will say, while I did not personally enjoy much of what Ashley did, I do not blame her so much. I feel that she was an interesting character. She was a potentially interesting character at a time where women were not treated with the respect. Obviously, nowadays, I think if she debuted now, we'd be getting a different story.
yeah. Well, if she debuted now, firstly, she'd have a lot stiffer competition to contend with. Not saying she
And that's
couldn't, but
and that's another issue is that a lot of the women back then were not trained to actually wrestle.
yeah, that's true. Although, from what I
No,
do
she
remember, Ashley wasn't bad.
actually wasn't bad. It's just SmackDown wasn't really. You got to remember, SmackDown didn't have the women's title at all during that time. It was always on Raw,
Yeah,
and there was that time they even just removed it completely.
yeah. Uh,
So I think
Although,
what
oh, sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, I think that nowadays Ashley's gimmick would be interesting, but I think it would still fall flat under people like, say, Becky Lynch, Rosemary, Sasha Banks, and other female wrestlers that have been given a bit more prominence.
Although you could also make the counter argument that she would have more of a chance to succeed if she had debuted today. So, like, who can say really?
Yeah, it's one of those what ifs of the world. But moving on, if we're
Yeah.
going to do
In other
the
news, Ric Flair had a bit of a health scare this week.
shit nature boy.
Yeah. Although his family assure us that this was a pre-planned hospital visit that he wanted to get out of the way before something and that everything is fine. But then a news reporter apparently came out and said that his family were lying. And that it was actually a problem. Like, because, yeah, his family don't know how he's doing. Let's just listen to some random reporter guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, Leo Rush may have been released from the company.
Ah.
I may have mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but Leo Rush has a bit of an ego backstage.
Yeah, you
And
did mention.
recently, he has removed all references to WWE from his Twitter and is taking independent bookings. So he didn't last long.
Yeah. Okay, now, Sam, I want to address something. On, I believe it was Raw, The Miz said he's never been on the same side as the WWE Universe before. Confirmed, Miz has never been face before this one.
I call bullshit, but yeah, he has been faced before. I will find video evidence if I fucking have. Sorry, I'm sorry I swore, but I will look. I will find evidence. I will literally find evidence and send it to you if I have to, just to make sure, just to fix it.
Seb says, for some reason, the link to this video keeps taking me back to your previous stream. I had to access this through your channel directly. What link are you talking about?
That is odd.
Yeah.
Though.
Also, Seb, while you're here, could you go ahead and share this to Reddit or something?
So another bit of news. Of obviously, let's just talk about the news that has gotten fans as old as us interested.
Yeah. Where it says Ollie is live. Oh wow, I don't know, mate. I'm not sure how to fix that.
Well, the AEW now has now got a connection to TNT.
Yeah. Oh my god, it really is billionaire Ted again.
Ted has actually offered to finance some of it, funnily enough, and they're counting it as a sports league, which is going to be an interesting thing.
He actually accidentally said Ollie is life, although live, although Ollie is love and Ollie is life. Thank you, sir. Not unlike Shrek.
It's all cryptic now.
Whoa. Okay. Oh wow, 4 people. Nice.
Back onto AEW's thing. They've also got ITV in the UK, which is a very easy channel for anyone to get on, to be honest.
Ted is financing this. Does Seth MacFarlane have something to do this? No, Ted Turner, so Captain Planet.
Yeah, Captain Planet is going to take WWE's ratings down to 0. But yeah, this has caused Vince McMahon is taking this very seriously, hence why the ratings are down and fan interest is at its lowest since 1995, I think. So Vince has started doing things like playing CM Punk's music in NXT shows, or following CM Punk and AJ Lee, or starting that wild card rule, which someone did turn into a joke of, and now I've installed the wild cat rule, where a random puma will be released into the arena, and someone's photoshopped a puma attacking Daniel Bryan in the ring.
Oh God!
Like they've done something where someone has clearly clotheslined him, and they've photoshopped them out, and then just put a big cat in there. But yeah, all these desperate things are literally to try and put up ratings, because Vince is willing to blame anything. As you've probably heard, he's blaming YouTube, he's blaming the fans, he's blaming people being injured and not being there to work. And this comes at a time when
those pesky fans who won't just like what I tell them to like. So I think we should all complain that Captain Planet doesn't smile enough and isn't called Miss Planet, even though it was never their name to begin with.
I think we should also complain that he isn't gay, but that's another thing. But I think we should. But speaking of people who smile a lot, John Cena announced he's done with WWE.
Really?
He said he's just got no interest in wrestling with them anymore and wants to focus on other things. So he seems to be done. Although we'll see if that carries over to the next Royal Rumble or WrestleMania and see if he just.
I thought I wasn't seeing him lately.
Probably wants to focus on his acting career.
Oh, isn't that hypocritical? Just like what The Rock was doing and what he was complaining The Rock was doing.
What he was scripted to complain that The Rock was doing.
Yes. Well, you say that.
Did they let John Cena do his own promos? Ian is here, says Seb. Yes, Ian is here.
Another issue is that recently John Cena he stood up for the WWE writing team, to which he was then called out for, of course you're going to protect them, John. They did nothing but focus on you for so long, and your entire career is built purely on them focusing on you and ignoring everybody else. Yeah. Which you can't really argue that they focused more on making John look strong than they did everybody else.
Oh, in a month's time, AEW episode 1, out comes John Cena.
John Cena.
He turned heel.
Yeah.
But also, Bray Wyatt did his whole turning into Heath Ledger thing.
Yeah. Well,
you saw that.
Yeah, that was one thing I made sure to see. Yowie, wowie.
Yeah. Thank you, Bray, for making... I told you this would happen. I told you this would be how they did it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I told you to have some kind of split fucking personality. Sorry. I told you he'd have some kind of split personality and just become like something else in the ring. So now he's become the Joker.
Don't worry, with PG-13, you get 1 F-bomb.
Well, I've just had 2. Yeah, going on to the rest of Raw, we had Lacey Evans and Charlotte focusing on putting Becky through a table. We had Braun Strowman's been removed completely from the Money in the Bank due to heat.
So I think Jason Voorhees talks more than Ian does on this podcast. Well, Ian, what do you think?
It's just, I just think it's all going downhill.
Well, I'm trying to rush through this so I can get to the points, but Raw had nothing really going for it as usual apart from Bray Wyatt's bit. In fact, there's a kayfabe news article that literally just says 2 minutes of Firefly Funhouse, but bookended by 2 hours and 48 minutes of Raw.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a comment that I watched the clip on YouTube that said Firefly's Funhouse has ran for 10 minutes total, and it's still been the best part of Raw for the last month or so.
That's the depressing part.
Yeah.
SmackDown is no better. I mean, granted, we've got Daniel Bryan and Rowan as the tag team champions. That's fine, but the wild card rule has made it mean that nothing matters.
Yeah.
And we're basically getting what we were getting on Raw anyway. So nothing's changed. Nothing's new. It's just a lot more chaotic and seems to have no real rhyme or reason for anything.
Although Asuka and Kairi Sane are now called the Kabuki Warriors, which is just so WWE that it hurts.
I have no look. I may have called my Japanese female tag team in 2K19 the Sunrise Sisters, but I don't think that's anywhere near as ridiculous as the Kabuki Sisters.
The Kabuki Warriors. Yeah, because, firstly, Kabuki is a style of Japanese theatre. It is also performed exclusively by men, I think.
Okay, Ollie, this is from the company who got a Tongan and told everyone he was Mexican.
Yeah, or how a Samoan man was a sumo wrestler, Yokozuna.
I'm just about to go on to Yoko as well. Yeah, all that. So really, you don't expect them to know anything about the cultures they're mocking, to be honest.
Seb says, or a Bulgarian is Russian. Yep, Rusev.
Very good. Seb's paid attention.
He is learning.
I think we need to discuss the big
Dublin, England. Oh.
I think we need to discuss
Ian sounded like he wanted to say something.
Go on.
Oh, don't forget a Croatian as a Russian.
I think we need to really address the fact that this whole thing of WWE didn't just being bad didn't just happen.
Yeah, it didn't just fall out of the sky.
I think one of the things I think we should really blame is back to. I know a lot of people will blame it's not like the Attitude Era or AEW turning up and everything. WWE's run the company for a certain way for a certain amount of time with no consequence. And I think that some of it can be thrown back to when John Laurinaitis was in charge of booking. A lot of it can just be how WWE is in general.
Yeah.
Second,
Yes, you don't get more Russian than Croatia. Somebody says, imagine Ian's epic voice as a WWE commentator. Well, you don't have to imagine it, because over on Ian's channel, I think, don't you do that with the...
We actually haven't done me and Ian do announcing.
Yeah.
Like we do the commentary team, but we've never actually done the announcing to the ring or anything.
Yeah. And Seb says they're only several thousand kilometers removed, but never mind.
But I think that the way that
Heart Eyes face
Laurinaitis did things. I mean, I know they made jokes about it with CM Punk, but he did hire the wrong one-legged man.
Yeah.
He did hire a bunch of people from swimsuit catalogs.
Yeah.
He did hire people who were all of one body type.
Yeah. And
he is also responsible for the infamous Sid breaking his leg gimmick thing that you've all seen and cringed at.
oh god. Ugh.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
Yeah, so that Vince's complete disconnection to the rest of the world after WCW went under TNA's complete failure to grow as a company, which they did to themselves.
Yeah, you can't really blame WWE for that. Well, you
No.
sort of can, because they were basically copying them.
Well, that was the problem, is that all TNA ultimately was WWE Light. It wasn't an alternative. It was as much alternative to WWE as what Pepsi Max is to Pepsi.
It's the Diet Coke of wrestling.
Just one gimmick, not even enough.
Yeah. No, I remember when TNA was great. Like, oh my god, do you remember, like, in 2006-07, around that time, when Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe was the rivalry, and then Team 3D, the Dudleys, wanted to destroy the X Division for some reason. But that feud was hilarious because it resulted in them having a weight limit, and then
and they'd have to weigh a certain amount each week.
Yeah.
They'd fluctuate who weighed more.
Yeah. Devon, how could you do this to me?
And of course, it also gave us Curry Man and Shark Boy.
Oh, Curry Man and Shark Boy. He was hot. He was spicy. He tasted great.
Oh, he was the cornflake homunculus before the cornflake homunculus was.
Yeah. Oh, but even the way they got rid of him was priceless.
Yeah, Hogan came in, there was definitely a good thing, but Jeff Jarrett's behavior, along with Dixie Carter, made things difficult. Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff came to basically ruin what was left.
Yeah.
And by that, now Anthem took over, and it's so dead in the water. It's basically its own little indie league at this point. I mean, I've sent you clips. The only thing left of that company that's even worth a damn is Rosemary.
Yeah.
That sad part is she's the only thing that's worth watching Impact for these days.
Can someone do a parody of Mr. Bojangles called Mr. Kurt Angle?
And of course, going on to AEW's thing, well, New Japan was Ring of Honor's failure to grow as well. And you've got to remember, AEW happened because of comment Dave Meltzer said.
I'll be right back, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Dave Meltzer?
A while back, someone made the tweet to Dave Meltzer. Do you think that something like Ring of Honor could draw 10,000 fans? into Madison Square Garden or something, and he said, not a chance. Cody Rhodes said, I'll take that bet. Give it to me and the Bucks 3 months.
3
It
months
didn't
later.
quite turn out that way, and they did All In, which got like 10,000 fans in the excess of maybe 30 minutes.
In all of 30 minutes.
Yeah, they'd sold out within 30 minutes. This caused the Khan family, yes, that's the people who are financing AEW, to take interest in AEW, in Cody, the Bucks, and Omega, causing them to leave New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is probably for the best at this point, form their own league, of which they have signed people like Chris Jericho, Jerry Lynn, Park, along with a bunch of New Japan
wow,
people.
WWE's even to blame for other companies' flaws. That's a lot of overspill.
Well, the problem is everyone has tried to emulate WWE's success by trying to be WWE.
Yeah, and it's the AAA game industry all over again. You can't copy someone else's success just by copying them.
You certainly cannot.
Yeah, like the audience already has that thing. They don't want another version of that thing.
No, I mean that here's the thing. Chris Jericho in New Japan and in AEW is going to be nothing like what you've seen of him in WWE, I assure you. Then you've got Kenny Omega. Then the thing is that they're actually treating this. I mean, for fuck's sake, sorry. One of the biggest things they're doing for one of the feuds is Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes, basically. But it's literally just to kill what was the last little bit of the Attitude Era, because that's been another problem.
Yeah.
The constant, we need to be the Attitude Era.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say Vince is right to say that the fans don't know what they want.
I don't think the fans are given much of an option, haven't been given any option. They don't. You got to remember, a lot of people didn't grow up with WCW and ECW. A lot of people have literally only grown up with WWE and don't know anything different. The closest we have to an alternative is NXT.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's quite a good one.
It is, but here's the thing: not a lot of people get to watch NXT, and the thing is that again, they haven't really had any actual competition, and WWE competing against itself doesn't really make much sense. It's like playing chess with yourself.
Really Bojangles has good chicken biscuits. I don't think we have Bojangles in the UK, do we?
Look, I don't know. I'm just still living with the fact we have a Taco Bell.
Oh, that's cool.
You didn't know that the UK has Taco Bells now?
No, I've never been into one. I've never seen one.
I saw one in Glasgow. I saw one in Glasgow, and it was a sobering experience, if I'm being brutally honest. Two quid on Tuesday to get tacos and beer.
That's insane.
Insane, yeah. But yeah, AEW has the chance to be the alternative, and the thing is that most of the people going there don't want to be in WWE. This has led to WWE treating some of its employees. I mean, if you remember,
but Sam, everyone in WWE has always dreamed of being there since they were a kid. They tell us so.
Ollie,
they make sure to tell us so.
Ollie, people with a gun to their head will tell you that they want that this one particular walrus or this one particular movie is very good if they're being threatened enough.
So I just know of Taco Bell because of those Beauty and the Beast YouTube poops. I love visiting the airport because they usually sell beer at Burger King. Tacos. Tacos, she says.
But so the thing is, again, that AEW has the opportunity to be the alternative. Now, again, it's starting out, so we'll see where it goes. We might get storylines and stuff, but these are people who, again, are wrestling fans. These are people who have been rejected by WWE. Yeah. And not only that, they're financed by someone. Yeah, I mean, Vince can offer the people money if they want, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
AEW is
There's no such thing as beer and Burger Kings over here. Can't say I've ever seen it either. Nor here. It seems to be exclusive to airports.
Yeah. Well, AEW has healthcare. The women are paid as much as the men.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, that alone is going to sway a lot of people because WWE doesn't care about their own people's health unless it's for their benefits. I mean, look at the people they're refusing to let go. You can't say WWE are not afraid of losing people because
yeah.
look at this.
They won't let Luke Harper go, but they're not using him. They're
This is the
just
thing.
shelving him from the business out of spite.
Vince doesn't even like him. He even said he hates everything Luke Harper has ever done. He doesn't. He says he doesn't think he hated him because he didn't think he could do a southern accent when he was in the Wyatt family.
So let him go. Let him go to AEW and do his thing there.
What's the worst they can do, Vince? They actually do something with him? That would imply there's some potential and you don't know what it is, but you don't want anyone else to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Because that would make you look incompetent.
Like, wrestling is a short career. You don't get to do it for very long. So shelving someone for several years from the business out of spite is just like, oh my god. I almost
You almost did your own F-bomb.
yeah.
But yeah, the thing is that again, he can't. Sorry, I keep saying that, but Luke Harper, he's good enough. I think Luke Harper is a good enough wrestler. I mean, before this, he was basically a homage to Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
That's dating myself, I know. Bruiser Brody died the day I was born.
Have we even talked about SmackDown yet, by the way?
We skimmed through SmackDown, but there's not really much on there worth talking about, is there?
It's the go-home show for a pay-per-view. They've just been spinning the wheels on the feuds. Although, I will say, I hate that Baron Corbin got a clean win over Ricochet. Because he doesn't need it. Even if he did need the win, he doesn't need to win clean. And Ricochet is just better.
Yup.
I wonder if his name is based on Ricochet from Mucha Lucha.
I love that show. I love Senor Hasbina. I mean, at the moment, I've been trying to I haven't caught up with New Japan.
No,
which is, I haven't. I mean, at the moment there are only a few people. I mean, I know that the Bullet Club is still doing its bit and trying to murder What Culture.
Yeah.
Well, I say Bullet Club is Tama Tonga's trying to murder them. No more word from Enzo and Cass, thank God.
Yeah.
And a feud I didn't know I really wanted to see until now, Jushin Thunder Liger versus Minoru Suzuki.
I thought Jushin Thunder Liger was retired.
Not yet. I think he's doing one more year and then he's done. Because last I saw of him, he was arguing with Minoru Suzuki and he was going to fight. They were going to have they were implying they were going to have they weren't going to stop until one of them was gone from New Japan.
Oh, comment catch up. They have McDonald's in Austria, but not many. All of them have a half McCafe. The coffee and donuts seem to be more popular than the burgers. I say it makes sense. Airport businesses kind of run on their own. I remember Mucha Lucha. It wasn't on for long, but it left its mark. I remember that the Clone Wars cartoon and Samurai Jack being the bomb for a while. Yeah, that was around the same time. Yeah.
But looking at the landscape now, WWE is in one of the most desperate things ever. Because if AEW takes off and is a big success,
yeah.
I mean, let's face it, these people thought World of Sport was going to be a threat.
I'm back.
Hey, Ian. Hey there.
Big Daddy's is back, eh?
Easy.
Easy.
Easy. We shall not be moved.
Love the fact that Viz did a comic where he wrestled Isis under the orders of Theresa May
Oh, and Little Big Daddy.
and Little Big Daddy. That was awesome until he was killed by The Rock.
Oh, Seb wants to know, Ian, can you do a Johnny Vegas impression?
Oh, I'll try. This will be my first time doing one.
Okay.
Okay. See, trying to remember a Johnny Vegas line. Oh yeah. Monkey, we need better telly. Not very good.
Monkey.
Monkey.
There you go, Seb. There's your Johnny Vegas impression.
It's not very good.
So if AEW do take
That
off,
was actually quite good, he says.
if AEW does take off and become a regular thing, like a weekly show, do you think you'll skim through WWE but watch AEW? Do you think you'll do both shows?
There is a distinct possibility that I'll skim through WWE and watch AEW.
I mean, you do know that another thing that might not interest either one of you at this point after the whole 5-star wrestling thing, but THQ are working on a rival wrestling game to WWE 2K.
Excellent.
Also, there's been leaks about what the collector's edition of 2K20 will be. Because Kurt Angle has never been good at keeping secrets. And him and Edge mentioned on Twitter that they've just had to sign a bunch of 2K19, posters, like sleeves to put in the collector's edition.
Yeah.
So there's the rumor at the moment that the next version of the game will be a Hall of Fame edition.
Damon is probably wondering what the F of Johnny Vegas is. He's basically our version of Chris Farley. Is that accurate?
He has a very raspy voice that sounds like he's going to keel over any minute.
Yeah, it's more if you give him any more food, he might explode. Oh god, and suddenly I'm being reminded of those GTA San Andreas things where they keep doing the CJ is fat thing. Oh god, you got me thinking about food. Food. Yeah,
here we go again.
You look on YouTube and you look up CJ fat level 101% or anything like that, and he just gets bigger and bigger. And they just play his comments when he's fat.
Yeah.
Get in the car, I'm hungry.
Except he survived. He's like a more deadpan Peter Kay. Debatable, so. I think. But
okay, so getting back to wrestling, what if AEW does take off? What do you actually want? What do you expect they'll do to make themselves distinct from WWE? I mean, obviously, titles will have to be a thing.
Well, I think they could benefit from a much more sports-like presentation, kind of like what I've heard New Japan does. It's like
I've heard
of this hokey soap opera bullshit. Sorry,
I have heard
that was me. My bad.
I have heard that they are going to use statistics in wrestling. They are also going to use the wins and losses will actually matter.
Yeah, well, this is what I think this is what I was getting at, a more sportsman-like presentation. Like that. Like, you can still push who you want to push.
You mean like they tried to do with the top 10 thing and it just didn't work because they didn't stick to it for more than 5 minutes?
Yeah, well, that's the thing with these ideas. They need time and consistency.
Well, yeah. I mean, I like the idea that the first show has no title matches on, and it's already they're probably going to be off to a big start. I mean, they're an unproven product as well, and yet they've got Ted Turner supporting them. They've got the Khan family supporting them, and before
they're not exactly unproven. That
but as a promotion, they're unproven.
Yeah, I mean, All In happened, didn't it?
Before Seb says anything, yes, Khan!
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it out of the way.
Yeah. Khan! Yeah. You know, with all of us absent-mindedly swearing, I'm thinking it might be an idea to record these podcasts in advance from now
Maybe.
on. So that if...
So, yeah, I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But,
Although I do
actually-
like the live interaction.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I will say that for AEW, what I want is I want them to have a different feel, but something that can actually get me invested. I don't want them abandoning people, and I do honestly want the system like what New Japan has, where wins and losses actually do matter, and a character gets a push, not because management decides it, but because the fans want it. Like, and I also oddly want a kind of work relationship where they're more than willing to work with smaller promotions.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, WWE's had an agreement with ICW now and then, but other than that, I'm not sure.
But I think that doing something like, say, having a pay-per-view, but in order to fill some slots, maybe have some Ring of Honor matches, because then it gets them on a bigger platform, because AEW could use its success to help others. I mean, hell, you could even bring in some New Japan guys. Like, personally, you could do some crossover matches. I mean, you could continue the Elite versus Bullet Club kind of feud. You could bring it, you could bring over the Gorillas of Destiny. You could bring over Minoru Suzuki or Tiger Mask. Or you could even bring over Tetsuya Naito and introduce them to an audience that otherwise wouldn't be able to see them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh,
And
So,
treat your legends better.
Well, treat your legend. Well, the fact that they're already giving healthcare to all their employees
Hmm.
is a better thing. And who knows, they might even get an off season.
Hmm.
yeah. Well, yeah, an off season would definitely benefit their talent. And also set the precedent so that people would be asking, why don't WWE do this? Which I think Vince is already worried about them doing, what with the healthcare and the, generally treating their employees like human beings. As a,
Yeah, the John Oliver thing really opened a lot of eyes, I think.
yeah. And if you haven't seen that episode of Last Week Tonight, I recommend you check it out. You get the sense that he's a fan, don't you? It's like,
Yeah. He knows enough.
yeah, wrestling is better than the thing you like.
Let's face it, he spent most of the time trying to cheer us up from the horrible things by showing Vince getting beaten up.
Yeah.
Oh, sounds like someone's upset.
I get emails from the World Wrestling Federation encouraging me to save the pandas, says Seb.
I remember an encyclopedia article where it's like there was like a match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Dave the Panda.
Oh.
Foul mouth beer swilling Ursine.
Encyclopedia.
That goes into other animals' enclosures and goes, "Yo, you listen to me, you son of a bitch. If you don't shut your mouth, I'ma come in there and I'ma stomp a mud hole in your bamboo shoot." What?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Nicole's coming up. She's in a bad mood.
Okay.
And no, she's not an angry Star Wars fan, Seb.
Hey.
Is that an angry Star Wars fan I can hear in the background? Ah, I see.
Oh, come on, Ian. Come on, Seb. Come on. Don't be a bitch. That's my daughter.
I don't think she watches Star Wars.
No, my next door neighbor does, but she hasn't watched anything past the prequels. Because apparently being a school teacher is very, very, very time consuming.
Ah, okay. I was about to ask how. Because
Yeah, I can't blame her for that, but we've already had talks about how she used to know the person who was in the R2D2 suit.
Yeah.
And how her pride and joy is a Yoda statue or something.
The one I went to uni with knew the person who operated BB-8. Darn, Encyclopedia no longer exists. What?
Well, Encyclopedia Dramatica still exists, thank God.
My grandpa once sold a jar to Kenny Baker. He had it modified especially. Okay, cool.
Well, Seb, if you miss Encyclopedia, you can just go on Encyclopedia Dramatica, but it's mainly made to attack certain people.
Or you can just look at Urban Dictionary.
Yeah. I mean, who could forget the Chris Chan Encyclopedia Dramatica page?
Oh yeah.
Which is still there. Or the one of Movie Bob that says, "Good news, everyone! Movie Bob has got diabetes."
An internet website made to attack certain people? Never, says. Accusing the gentle internet of a misdeed? I won't have it.
Poppycock, I say.
Poppycock.
And may I add, I'm going to say it. I don't care if you've got censorship. Balderdash. There, I said it.
Balderdash.
Honestly.
Most unorthodox.
Royston.
Heavens.
Royston, the internet is apparently being mean to people. How could we allow this? It's almost as if it's allowing the human condition to become bestial.
Jack's here. Hello, Jack. Sad but true. Next, you'll be telling me that 4chan has posted something controversial. Oh,
Chan.
Let's not.
Yeah, go into 4chan and let's not go into 8chan.
Oh God, no! Let's not be THQ Nordic in his.
Oh, whoops! Modern day reference.
Yeah. I should probably explain that reference. THQ Nordic got into a lot of hot water. Sam had to bring up my chat. THQ Nordic got into a lot of hot water recently because they were going to do an AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything, where a representative goes onto a social website and ask me anything. But they didn't do it on Reddit or Twitter or where you'd expect people to do an AMA. They did it on a place called 8chan, which, if you don't know what that is, I envy your ignorance. But Google doesn't link to it, but most people know what 4chan is. Basically, 4chan is a website designed to
offend.
Well, yeah. It's full of people who, well, they post stuff there that the reason you go to 4chan mostly is to see stuff that you can never unsee. I've heard that said of it, and I don't disagree. And 8chan is, yeah, provocateurs would be the term. So 8chan is a cast-off from 4chan of the people who thought 4chan was a bit too tame for them. Well...
And why are we still talking about them?
Yeah, that's a good point. That I was just explaining my THQ Nordic reference. They decided to do an AMA there, and they announced it by saying, we're doing an AMA on 8chan, and we have no idea why. I'm stealing a line from Jim Sterling here, but that's the only question I would be interested in asking them at that point.
Yeah. What if they hear us?
Well, we have got 6 people watching, which is more than... I think that's a record at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, how our standards are.
I bet
but yeah, 8chan is just like bad.
Yeah. Back to the wrestling.
Yeah, quickly.
Wrestling, which is another kind of bad.
Yeah, a different kind of bad. A more socially acceptable kind of bad.
Yes. AEW has the potential that if WWE continued the way it is at this point, with its little internal feuds, its inability to treat its employees like human beings. I mean, hell, Sasha Banks is trying so desperately to get out the Revival. Have rejected $500,000 offer, so they're being humiliated on a weekly basis.
They'll bounce back once they're out of there.
Everyone will, but my funny thing is, it'll be ironic if they turn up in AEW because the Young Bucks and them have had an online Twitter feud with their F the Revival hashtag. The Revival insist it literally means Forever the Revival, but it's been around for about 2 years. The hashtag's been around for 2 years, and it literally means fuck the Revival.
Ah.
And it was coined by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks.
Right.
And it was one of their jokes on their internet series, Being the Elite.
Yeah.
They would constantly mock them, or they'd have censors every time they said the F the Revival thing.
Yeah.
But at the moment, they've got a strong roster, which will only grow because, let's face it, it's going to attract the right kind of people. But this isn't like WCW. So I think what we should discuss between all of us for now, in the time we've got left, what can AEW do that, what mistakes must they avoid to not end up like WCW and TNA?
Don't pander to the lowest common denominator.
Good one. Ian, what do you think?
I don't know, does it give everyone a chance?
I was going to say, don't trust Hogan. Don't gamble your ideas on one idea. Don't base your entire talent purely on WWE cast-offs. If you've got the chance to sign a big star, I mean, people were already looking at Chris Jericho and going, why? And it's because Jericho was just one. Neville is someone who was treated like wasn't someone who was a big star in WWE and then just went somewhere for the money. He was literally being treated like refuse by the company he was working for.
Yeah, but Chris Jericho was a New Japan guy at that point.
Yeah, well, Jericho went back to New Japan because he was sick of WWE's situation, and he has tried to work with WWE as an outsider, and they just don't want to because they've said they don't play well with others. Even for a charity event that he was doing, they refused to send anyone for his wrestling charity thing for a wrestling event because they didn't want their wrestlers mixing with other companies.
Oh my god. That's just
selfish.
It's so petty.
That's like Ian saying, "Hi, I'm doing my own little company in WWE 2K19, but I want Jetta Star, which is one of my characters to use," and me saying, "Sorry, Ian, I don't want her on your show or mixing with your wrestlers."
And we're not even talking about real people here. But...
Yeah, but it's the same. Yeah, but the same argument can literally be attributed.
Yeah.
It's childish.
Yeah, and well,
for a charity,
you've only got to look at what he finds funny to know that Vince is, let's face it, quite a childish man.
The man finds poo funny.
Yeah.
But basic bodily functions are hilarious to him. Humiliating people who don't agree with him.
Yeah.
Dehumanizing women in, let's face it, the Trish Stratus dog thing, let's be brutally honest.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Bra and panties matches.
Yeah.
Any wrestling fan who owns a PS2 owns a copy of Here Comes the Pain and knows
By
all
the way,
about
where did that Disco Inferno... Was it Disco Inferno? Where did that go?
Yes. I don't... He lost the match to that woman, and that was all that came
If it's
from
childish, why do you still take an interest in it? Oh, God, troll questions. We're calling the man himself childish, not the thing that...
It's kind of like how by that same token,
why do you still take an
like Star Wars for the same reason, because certain things are childish, or how the way certain people behave are childish.
Bra and panties matches. I'm amazed. Seb says bra and panties matches. I'm amazed they got John Cena to agree to that. Might also correct his cancer.
To be fair.
7 people. Record.
To be fair, Ollie, Goldust probably would have.
Did Goldust not? I assumed he would have at some point.
I do remember. I do remember at one point during what was meant to be a reference to O.J. Simpson at WrestleMania 12, he wrestled Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper ripped his gold suit off, and he was wearing like women's underwear.
Yeah, I remember that match. I can also
that
see.
I think my favourite Goldust moments were Booker T and Goldust.
That is my favourites to begin with were the weird. I liked when he did the artist formerly known as Goldust.
Yeah. Oh God.
I found that funny because Luna Vachon was a very underrated wrestler. To be fair,
Yeah.
fun story.
May
You know
she
she was
rest in
married to
peace.
Gangrel.
Yeah.
I
You
did
know how
not
she
know
met?
that.
Did you know how she met him?
How?
No.
She had been on a show that wasn't a WWE one, and she'd been in a match where her face had been legitimately busted open.
Oh, so does Vince probably likes most Adam Sandler movies.
He probably does.
Yeah.
But Gangrel had just started out in the company, and he was sitting down, and then Luna Vachon went up to him with blood dripping down her face and went, fresh meat. And
It
he
was not
became
meant as a troll
terrified of
question.
her.
I was genuinely curious. That's fair enough. All we were saying was that Vince's attitude is childish.
But then how they got together was that they were driving a car, and the thing was Gangrel made it a habit to not talk to Luna because he was actually afraid of her. And while he was driving on a motorway, she jumped on him while he was driving and started biting him and hitting him and going, "Why don't you like me?" And it just kind of evolved from there.
Oh.
That's a weird
Well,
relationship, but
I think you kind of like. I mean, most other people you'd have answered your own question with that manner of questioning.
I recommend the interview because he did it after Luna died.
Uh,
Goldust, because Goldust bizarreness was what always drew me to him. I mean, I know that he was controversial to begin with, and I think that's why he has stood the test of time. I mean, if you remember, Razor Ramon refused to work with him because he was uncomfortable because of the whole molesting thing.
Titanic, but it's a dilapidated boat, said Sepp.
Very good. I mean, Undertaker was willing to take a rigor mortis joke from Goldust.
Yeah.
And, you know, all the other, and hell, he even took Jerry Lawler calling him the F word at one point. Not going to say it on here.
Yeah.
And it's the way he behaved when it's like, well, you're a what? And he just said the F word. And then, of course, the time he open mouth kissed Ahmed Johnson,
Oh.
where it, and his
That-
willingness to wear, and his willingness to get implants.
Yeah.
Today, that we had to live with the fact that Dustin Rhodes probably still has the implants, even though most people who have them in WWE, when they leave, remove them.
Yeah. And, like, the fact that they had Goldust open mouth kiss Ahmed Johnson, the fact that it was clearly meant as a move, like, Goldust was gay panic, basically, as you've said many times.
And you got to remember that Goldust, as a gimmick, created a rift between him and Dusty for years.
Did it?
Him and his father, from my understanding of the story, is that Dustin and Dusty had a massive falling out at one point, like a really big one.
Right.
So Dusty was working for WCW at the time and raising young Cody, and Dustin was working for WWE, and the Goldust gimmick came on, and Dusty told Cody, "You cannot watch your brother ever," basically. And then he saw the Goldust gimmick for himself, because naturally, unlike Vince, WCW did watch the WWE product, and he said he was disgusted by what he saw.
Oh.
What he saw Dustin do made him absolutely disgusted. And he hated Dustin for years for it. And this actually caused real life animosity. And it actually leaked into the artist formerly known as Goldust gimmick. He mentioned on screen in breaking kayfabe at the time when he had his argument with his wife that he was having legitimate problems with his father, which is why he did that thing. If you remember, Ollie, that thing where he came out saying, I'm a Dusty Rhodes. I had a legendary feud.
Jack says, at the
Flair.
risk of sounding stupid, it seems to me that Vince and his immaturity are all part and parcel of the business. I don't see the entertainment value. How do you do it? No, Vince and his immaturity are not part and parcel of the business. It's just that WWE makes it that way.
You've got to remember as well that
Wrestling
WWE
as a thing is a lot better than WWE makes it sometimes.
thing is that WWE has a. Mick Foley once said that he sees it like a circus sometimes. If you're not gonna, if you don't enjoy the trapeze artists and the tightrope walkers, you're if you didn't enjoy Taka Michinoku versus someone like, say, like trying to think someone from back in that time who was good, like I don't know, Taka Michinoku versus Shao Funaki, in the athletic match, you probably enjoy Too Cool.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
I think. Well, we were at 55.